Let's take a look at some of the top and most noteworthy plays from the season opening contest against Pitt and discuss just how they affected the game's outcome. Let's go! What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads Webcast. And before I get into this inaugural regular season edition of Cruz Film Reviews, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder, if you would, do us a favor, hit that like button, go ahead and give this video the thumbs up. That'll help its performance and help our future video performances as well. And if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. And as always, one of the best ways to support us here at the Country Roads Webcast as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads Webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation is to visit our merch store. Get you a sticker, get you a hat, coffee mug, mouse pad, baby clothes, anything you want, you can get it with the CRW logo on it. And we really appreciate you doing that. And the way to visit that store, there is a link down in the video description below. Please check that out for us. Anyways, enough promoting, enough rambling. I'll get out here and let you guys enjoy this edition of Cruz Film Reviews for the 2022 WVU football season opener. Let's get into it. All right, to begin the first edition of Cruz Film Reviews for 2022, if you don't include the spring game, of course, the first regular season edition of Cruz Film Reviews, I figured, everybody talks about depth charts and the starters. Let's just take some second here and point out who started the game for the Mountaineers on offense, and then who started the game on defense for the Mountaineers as well. On offense, as you'll see here, we'll go from top of the screen to the bottom. On the far side, we've got Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Then coming across offensive line, left tackle, Wyatt Milam. Left guard, James Gamitter. Center, Zach Frazier. Right guard, Jordan White. Right tackle, Doug Nestor. Tight end, Brian Palende. Maybe to the surprise of some, instead of Mike O'Laughlin, but it could have been just personnel based on the play call to open the game. Then down here in the slot, Sam James, and then here on the bottom of the screen, Caden Prather, and then of course in the backfield, JT Daniels at quarterback and Tony Mathis at running back. Alright, and now to look at the Mountaineers starting defense that opened it up on the first play of the game. Before we get into some plays that I felt really influenced the game, and some plays that I just wanted to address and talk about a little bit. For the starting defense for the Mountaineers here, on the defensive line, down on the defensive end, on the other side there, beside the official that you can't really quite see in the picture, that's Taj Alston. Nose guard beside him, standing up a little bit there, 95, that's Jordan Jefferson. And then Dante Stills on this side of defensive tackle. Right out here to the outside of them, a little bit to the boundary side here, that's Jared Bartlett in the bandit role. Going back now through the linebacker core, going back towards the top of the screen. Number 5 here, closest to Jared Bartlett on this boundary side, is Lance Dixon, at will linebacker, followed by Lee Koba to his left at the Mike linebacker position. Then creeping up just in front of the other official on the top of the screen is Jasir Cox getting the start at the spear safety position. And then in the defensive backfield, you have Rashad Ajayi, number 4, corner on the opposite side there, close to the top of the screen. Marcus Floyd at cat safety beside him. And then over here at this side, right behind Lee Koba in the middle linebacker there in the middle of the field, free safety Aubrey Burks. And then cornerback Charles Woods actually pictured here right there behind Lance Dixon towards the linebacker before he popped out here this outside. I think he came inside based on the formation that Pitt opened the game with. But that's your starting Mountaineer defense there. Not too many big surprises with the starters really for the Mountaineers in this game, save for the one change on the offensive line that, some people didn't know, but I think a lot of people kind of saw coming with the switch at the right guard and right tackle position. But there's your starters for the Mountaineers to open the 2022 season. Okay, so the first play I want to look at here, this is the play that really showed to me, okay, JT Daniels is different. This is someone we haven't had at quarterback at WVU in quite a long time, if ever. Just the moxie and the it factor and the intangibles that he shows on this play alone. I think throughout the game he showed his grit and that he's a fighter and really resilient, and he took a lot of hits and just kept going and kept making plays and doing the right decision, on seemingly every play. But I think it all started right here when he's faced with adversity early in the game. This snap you're going to see come back from Zach Frazier comes back a little bit too hard, I believe, a little bit too quick. Can't quite handle it, but then he doesn't panic, gets the fumble, continues to look downfield, then feels the pocket, moving a little bit, escapes out, still looking downfield, and makes a play for the Mountaineers. And I think the stadium went wild when this happened, and rightfully so, because it was a heck of a play by JT that really just showed, okay, this guy's legit. He's something, and that's the one thing they kept showing all night, I think, was his pocket presence. When the pocket broke down, knowing exactly where to step and what to do, and then of course his arm talent as well, which is evident on this play, scrambling against his body and puts a perfectly thrown pass to Bryce Ford-Wheaton on the sideline where only he can catch it. But I'll let the play speak for itself here. Let's check it out. All right, so here we go. Snap back from Zach Frazier right here coming. See, a little bit too hard off of his hands. Stumbles, picks it up. Pocket breaks down a little bit. Slides out from that. Perfectly placed ball right on the sideline to BFW, who makes a great adjustment to catch that ball, and they showed a great connection all night, did JT Daniels and Bryce Ford-Wheaton. And just a great example of JT Daniels' moxie and his intelligence, to stick with that play and make a play when he faced adversity and attack it head on. Love it. Love to see it from a Mountaineer quarterback. Going to be a great leader. So let's check out the first play for the West Virginia defense that we're going to look at in these Cruise film reviews. Sacks were big in this game for the Mountaineer defense. I think this is one we all wanted to see. Keaton Slovis, after what he said in the Pitt pep rally, I think we all know what happened there. As you see Jared Bartlett coming in on Pitt's first third down, forcing a 3-and-out. The West Virginia defense did to start the game in a big way. Jared Bartlett looked great in this game playing the bandit position. We saw great production from the bandit position. As you see here on the replay, Jared Bartlett looping around the outside. The pressure from the inside, too much for the blockers. They can't hold him. Can't match it. Send one more late, and Bartlett comes in with the sack. Great use of the bandit by Jordan Leslie in the defense, and that continued all game. Great performance by Jared Bartlett in this game. All right, of course we have to talk about the debut of C.J. Donaldson. Converted tight end. Probably going to see him all over the field for the Mountaineers eventually. Right now he's a running back, and it might be hard to move him from that position after the performance he put on in the backyard brawl. Heck of a debut. I know I put it on our Twitter, Shades of Amos Saraway. That's kind of what I keep going back to, just because he's a freshman. It was his first carry in his first game, also against Pitt. And you're going to see what he did here momentarily. And of course, if you watched the game, I'm sure we all have by now, you saw what he did throughout the game. But can't say enough about his performance, especially as a true freshman. But as you see here in this formation, Sam James lined up on the far side on the top of the screen. Offensive line remains the same. Doug Nestor, Jordan White, Zach Frazier, James Gamitter, Wyatt Milam. Here at the tight end over on this side, you got Mike O'Laughlin, Reese Smith in the slot here, and Bryce Ford-Wheaton down here closest to the bottom of the screen. And then, of course, in the backfield, JT Daniels, and to his right, C.J. Donaldson, who's going to shift over to the left to the start of this play. And C.J. Donaldson just takes the handoff. Looks like a simple zone play. Patient, cuts up and makes one cut, hits the middle of the field, breaks free through the line, and then after that, the race is on and the chase is on. One man brings him down, but it's a 44-yard run on the play that really broke up the game open for the Mountaineers after Pitt had scored first late in the first quarter with a field goal. This is the play that West Virginia went to, and I'm actually just going to let it play straight through. You'll see the Mountaineers do something they did a few times in this game that I really liked. When they had a nice big chunk play, they would hurry the line really fast and get a snap off really quick and go into something else super fast, super fast tempo, and I really like that. I thought that was a great strategy by the offense, and hopefully we continue to see more of that this season. But let's get our first look at C.J. Donaldson here in his first big play, the first big play for the Mountaineers, and then the first touchdown for the Mountaineers, which is also JT Daniels' first touchdown as a Mountaineer. So string of firsts here, beginning with C.J. Donaldson's big run, culminating with JT Daniels' touchdown pass, his first as a Mountaineer, to Bryce Ford-Wheaton on a fade route. All happens pretty quick, so here we go. Let's check it out. Boom. Missed tackle, and that's all it takes for Donaldson. Can't break him down with an arm tackle like that. Luckily that man went lower. He probably just scored right there. Look at the size, 6'2", 240. Just really a force, and just watch this. I mean, he sees the hole, boom. Perfectly blocked by the line. All he had to do was break those tackles right there. I mean, even if he doesn't break those tackles, it's still a 17-yard game. But look how quick the Mountaineers already going. Single one-on-man, one matchup right there with Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Easy for him. Just make the catch. He made a lot of contested catches in this game. I know the one everyone's thinking about, but you got to look at the positive side. He made a ton of contested catches. Probably as many in this game as he did almost all of last season, I'd be willing to bet. Let's take a look at the replay here. Everyone's looking at Donaldson. All the action's going to that side. It's just one-on-one on this side. You like Bryce Ford Wheaton matched up against most corners with his size and athleticism, and he makes a great catch on a perfectly placed ball by JT Daniels. Outside where only Bryce Ford Wheaton had a chance to make a play on it. And the Mountaineers broke through. First touchdown of the season in a game that will be back and forth from there. Okay, I definitely think if we're going to talk unheralded plays in this game, this is definitely one that definitely went unheralded and is not talked about enough, really. As you see, West Virginia's offense is really grinded to a halt here. As you see, evidenced by the graphic there on the bottom where JT Daniels started real hot and then it went cold. And Pitt's defensive line has been getting some good pass pressure. West Virginia here in a 3rd and 13, as you see. And Pitt's going to get a good pass rush again. JT Daniels, tries to step up and get the ball off. Kind of does, get the throw off in time, but his arm is hit. So the ball just wobbles in the air. You see, 2 or 3 Pitt defenders around. It looks like it's going to be a for sure interception. Instead, Bryce Ford Wheaton makes a spectacular play, picks up the first down, and the Mountaineers will go on to, kick a field goal to tie the game up at 10-10 and send it into half with a tie before an extremely exciting second half where a lot of scoring took place and a lot of back and forth and things really opened up. But really unheralded play by Bryce Ford Wheaton that, really could go down as one of the best, most important, plays of the game for the Mountaineers. So, let's take a look at this one. Really got the West Virginia offense going again when it had kind of slowed down a bit. See, ball just kind of lingers. 4 Pitt defenders around. Somehow he comes up with that football just being, it happened to just be beyond the marker there. So who knows where JT was throwing that one. Don't believe it was even to Bryce though. The ball just, when his arm got hit, just fluttered up into the air and just lingered. And Bryce Ford Wheaton just happened to be in that vicinity and went up and made a play. And that's something he did a lot throughout the game really. And no more evidence of it than this play here. See if they show. Yep, there it is. Yep, his arm hit right there by the man coming in as he tried to throw it. And just look at this. Bam. Takes a hit, hangs on to it. First down, kept the drive alive. Allowed the Mountaineers to tie the game and gain some momentum going into halftime, which really sprung them into a strong second half. Alright, so now let's take a look here. Not one of the first times, but one of the worst times. The 2 things that really plagued the Mountaineers in this game, the season opener of 2022, and the return of the backyard brawl were, and that was secondary issues, especially in the middle of the field. I feel like is where the coverage really broke down a lot, whether it be the zones or the play action that Pitt ended up using after they set it up off that power run game. Whatever it was, a lot of breakdowns in the middle, and then I think the even worse issue to me, to the Mountaineers saw. I thought altogether they played pretty good on defense, but they could have done, a lot better. But the 2 things they really struggled with was coverage, and to me the worst one was tackling. I thought there were a lot of missed tackles, a lot of bad angles taken, just things like that. And this play kind of showcases both those. We're going to see Pitt's bigger receiver, their outside receiver, Jared Wayne. Like I said, one of their bigger targets, taller guy, but he showcased some ability to break some tackles and show some speed here on this play. As you'll see him, come across over the middle here, and then a couple poor efforts of a tackle. He breaks free, and a big play for Pitt in a game that West Virginia, they could have got a stop. Maybe could have pulled away in. And like I said, that seemed like the theme of this game that continued to happen. Chances for West Virginia to pull away, get a double-digit lead, and just couldn't quite do the little things it took to get there. And one of those that they really struggled with, and they kept happening and popping up when they had those opportunities and missed them, was missed tackles and bad coverage. You see both those here. Let's check it out. Alright, so play action. As I said, they'd set that up really well. Wide open over the middle. Someone's zone wasn't deep enough, I don't feel like, or just a breakdown there. And then the missed tackle spins out and races down the field all the way down to inside the 2 there, right at the 1-yard line. And Pitt would go on to tie the game at 17-all midway through the 3rd. Let's check it out on replay here one more time. Play action off that power setup they've been running. Little RPO, right over the middle. McCormick misses the tackle. Davis Ballinger can't get him. And then Aubrey Burks luckily chases him down. Great effort there to stop him and keep him out of the end zone at least. You like to see them not giving up, but tough there. Tough. Jared Wayne, good player. Alright, so here we are, late 3rd quarter now. And of course it's a big play, so of course it's another time that C.J. Donaldson was into the game for the Mountaineers. And a heck of a debut, as we've talked about several times now. First Mountaineer to debut with 100 yards rushing since 2016. and he did it with a hell of a performance against Pitt in a backyard brawl rivalry game. So he's a guy that's going to be a force for years to come throughout his Mountaineer career, let's hope. But right here, the Mountaineers needing an answer late third quarter, and they would answer, and they would continue to do so, and as the game became an awesome back and forth from this point moving forward all the way through to the bitter end at the very last second. But let's check this one out. Only difference here is along the offensive line. At this point, Jordan White had gotten hurt about midway through the third quarter, so Doug Nestor had slid back in at right guard, and Jaquay Hubbard now lined up at right tackle there near the top of the screen. 3 receivers in on this one. Sam James over on that side, Reese Smith down here in the slot, Bryce Ford Wheaton at the bottom, and then of course in the backfield, JT Daniels and CJ Donaldson. Mike O'Laughlin lined up at the tight end / H-back position there, and let's run it. Mike O'Laughlin in motion to the right, switches his sides, comes back over, just a split zone. Boom, another missed tackle, and he throws that man down with a nice little stiff arm, and that man pulls him by his face mask, add another 15 to the end for the Mountaineers, and then going on to tie the football game. So yet again, just as we saw earlier in the game with his very first carry on that 44-yard one, set up the first score for the Mountaineers. This one yet again sets up another touchdown for the Mountaineers, this one answering a Pitt touchdown to bring them back even here late in the ball game. Just an impressive run there on just a simple split zone, really decisive, hit the hole, got up through there, broke another arm tackle as we saw him do on his earlier run, and then finish it with force, driving the man to the ground with the stiff arm as he's getting face mask. And who knows, without that face mask, he probably stiff arms that man and keeps going if he doesn't grab onto his face mask. That might have been a touchdown for CJ Donaldson, and he would have had a second out of the game. Alright, I know there's been a lot of talk about CJ Donaldson in the days following the game and in this Cruz film review specifically, and rightfully so after his performance, but the Mountaineer rushing game as a whole was improved overall, and that was Tony Mathis as well. He had a pretty good day, actually 71 yards on his 17 carries as well, and this was his best run of the day, and it was really important here, as you see in the fourth quarter, 23-yarder that set up West Virginia's last touchdown of the game. As you see him go up here 31-24, it would set up a JT Daniels quarterback sneak that he said was actually his first ever rushing touchdown in college, surprisingly enough, that he scored on the quarterback sneak. They would follow up after this play, but let's check it out here. Tony Mathis with his best run of the day. Another chunk play for the Mountaineers, something they did pretty good in this game. And this one would set up a go-ahead score in the fourth, but this would unfortunately be the final touchdown of the game for the Mountaineers. All right, here you see it. Tony Mathis takes the handoff, makes a man miss there, then nearly dives for the end zone. Like I said, marked down at the 1, but then JT Daniels would sneak it in on his first ever collegiate rushing TD and his first ever Mountaineer rushing TD to give the Mountaineers the 31-24 lead early on in the fourth quarter. But that would unfortunately be the final touchdown the Mountaineers would score in this game. But great effort. So we got to show this play because this is important to the story of this game, right? So this is coming from the review of a 9-yard completion from Keaton Slovis to the Pitt tight end Gavin Bartholomew, called a completion on the field. Very importantly, right? Okay, so as you see, diving, hand under the ball, but the ball may have hit the ground. Who knows? But, hands under the ball, and the important thing here, right, is that it's called a catch on the field. So, even if it does hit the ground and, you can't tell, maybe he lost control, maybe he didn't, and you decide, okay, it's too much, too many questions still left. It's not unquestionable, right? It's not undeniable. So we can't overturn it. Because it's called a catch on the field, that stays upheld here in this situation. Ultimately, they come out the other side of this review. You see the play again there. Let it run through a few times here. But when they come out here, the officials come out through on the other side of this review, they decided that, it was determined a catch on the field, so it stands. They didn't say it was upheld, they said it stands. And that's because, like I said, it was, as you see there, the graphic on the screen, ruling on the field, pass complete. Alright, so there we go. Remember that, folks. Remember that. It's going to come up again here in a second. Alright, so here we are
on Pitt's drive in which they answered West Virginia to score and tie this game up at 31 apiece with under 4 minutes remaining in the football game. And on this long touchdown pass, it's really, just a short little check down pass for Keaton Slovis, and the running back, Izzy Abanikanda, does the rest. And, as I said, the story of the game for the Mountaineers, I thought what they struggled most with was tackling. And that, yet again, came back to haunt him here on this play. Missed tackles and then, a couple bad angles, and he's able to dive across the pylon and tie this game up late. And, ended up, being one of the things that was the difference. And, all it could have took was a little bit better tackling. They stop him and, force Pitt to snap the ball again. But weren't able to do that, as we see here. Let's check it out. As you see, Slovis gets the snap, drops back. Short little dump right there. Boom. Missed tackle from Jared Bartlett. Missed tackle from Rashad Ajayi. Slightly bad angle from Lee Koba, who almost had him. And then just couldn't get him as he was scooting by there as he came off the block for the last person there that had the last line of defense to get him. And he dives across the pylon and ties the game up with the 24-yard touchdown catch. Just missed tackles, missed tackles, missed tackles. You hated to see it. Hopefully West Virginia improves the tackling, and if so, I think they can have a good season. Shore up the secondary, eliminate middle mistakes, and improve tackling. And I like the team West Virginia has a lot, but that one hurts. As we know, this game hurt a lot. But going through the film review, can't not tell the story of this game without showing that 24-yard touchdown pass in which the Mountaineers should have had him a couple yards beyond the line of scrimmage, but instead Pitt ties the game that they would ultimately go on to win 3 minutes and 41 seconds later. Alright, so here we are. I debated on even including this play in my Cruise film reviews for this game, but that's the cool thing about Cruise film reviews when you think about it, is really it's just kind of me telling the story of the game through my eyes, or through my lens, if you will, right? And you can't tell the story of this game without this play, unfortunately. Hate to relive it, but, but like I said, you can't tell the story of the game without it, because looking at it, if this play goes the way, it should go, and it's going to go 9 out of 10 times, you're going to have the ball 1st and 10 on Pitt's side of the field, and by the time you snap it, nearly 2 minutes to go, you're going to be able to gain, 10 to 15 more yards and run that clock down and have the chance to kick a game-winning field goal, and if you miss it, you go to overtime. So, it really does, change the story of the game, so you can't tell it without this play. You all know the play I'm probably talking about. I don't really need to introduce it. I said on Twitter when it happened, which, by the way, follow us on Twitter if you're not already. It's at WVU Country Roads. Especially during games, I don't attend. I do get on there and do live tweets throughout the game, so I feel like our Twitter is a fun place to be through the West Virginia football season, if I don't say so myself. But that being said, I put on Twitter, after this play happened not long, that I didn't hope that it ended in a loss for the Mountaineers, which of course it ultimately did. But I felt like that if it did, this play kind of ultimately sums up life as a WVU football fan. Unfortunately, it just, something always happens like this to us, it seems. I don't know if we're cursed or what it is, but it's just something. But I'll let it run through, unfortunately. Here we go. Alright. Mike O'Loughlin in motion, as you see. JT Daniels on the drop back. Simple stop route, wide open. And there you see it. Yeah. I don't know, I can't tell you if it really stings less or stings more watching it through a second time, not live this time, but I'll tell you, in the West Virginia section you could hear a pin drop for sure. Just very unfortunate turn of events, but as you see, that would end up being the decisive blow and the decisive score in the game, as the score would end up 38-31 as the final, as you see it reflecting here with 2:58 to go. But we still got one more play to talk about in Cruise Film Reviews, and it's one that was just as big, if we're talking about plays that could have possibly changed the result of the game. Alright, so I said I had one more play to talk about when it came to this game, and I'm sure we all knew that this would be the play that I was referring to. And this is also where the replay review I showed you guys of the Pitt tight end 9-yard reception from a little bit earlier in the game. That play from a few minutes ago. This is where that comes back up and comes into play. So here we are with WVU trying to tie this game. Under 30 seconds remaining. Their last effort here. Down 7. Approaching the Pitt red zone. And they've got one more shot at it here. Let's run it. Okay, so as you can see, West Virginia 28 yards away. They line up and they try a nice little inside shot play to Reese Smith on what has to be a perfectly thrown ball by JT Daniels, and is perfectly thrown. And as you can see, Reese Smith thinks he caught it. He's celebrating as if he caught it, and feels as if he does caught it, And so they try to hurry to the line, and of course the play is going to ultimately be reviewed. Instead of West Virginia on the 1-yard line, they're going to review this play. Now, as I said, this is where the play with the Pitt tight end comes back into play, right? Because on the field, they called this a catch. You see, it's 1st and goal. They called it a catch on the field, right? Now, jokingly, from our Twitter earlier, I tweeted hashtag Reese called it, in reference to the hashtag Dez called it thing on a play that's a little bit more controversial in the playoffs for the Cowboys. But someone responded with a picture, and from the angle that they showed on that picture, which you don't really see here on their view, it doesn't really look like he called it. However, that's not really the point here, or the case that I'm trying to make. The point in the case that I'm trying to make is this. The catch that they had with the tight end from Pitt earlier was very similar. Probably wasn't a catch either, right? But it's called a catch on the field. So if it's called a catch on the field, and there's still question when you're showing the review, which to me there is question here on the review with the angles that are shown and the footage that's given, because his hand remains under the ball, and the ruling states that the ball can't touch the ground as long as the player's hand remains under it and he maintains control of the football, which in this case I think you can make an argument that he does. And if you can argue that he does, then it is not inconclusive. There's still questions. It's not undeniable for you to be able to overturn it. If this was called incomplete on the field, okay, yes, but the pass was called complete on the field. So the argument to me is not whether it was a catch or not. Okay, so maybe it wasn't a catch. But guess what? The one from the Pitt tight end earlier probably wasn't either. But because that was ruled a catch on the field, they couldn't overturn it. And because this catch was ruled a catch on the field, they should not have overturned this as well. And West Virginia should have had a chance there from the 1-yard line to tie this ball game up. That's my argument. That's all I'm saying. And I'm sure that's Neil Brown's argument as well. As more so than saying that he necessarily caught that ball. That's the argument, and I think that it's valid. And the referee shouldn't have overturned that call. And this game probably should have went to overtime. Nonetheless, the Mountaineers fall to 0-1. Hard-fought game, but I think they've showed that they improved in a lot of spots throughout the offseason, specifically offense, run game, and special teams, some areas where they really needed to. And like I said earlier, if they can eliminate mental mistakes, shore up the secondary, and improve their tackling, I think West Virginia can be set for a really good season, and I don't see why they can't compete for the Big 12 Conference title.
Right. So there you have it. The inaugural regular season edition of Cruz Film Reviews for the 2022 WVU football season. A lot of things there. Of course, there's some noteworthy plays that were left out, but, for time purposes, got to condense some things. There's a lot of plays that I would like to have shown, but I try and keep these about 30 minutes, give or take, for the Cruise Film Review series. So hope you enjoyed this one. We'll have more coming throughout the season. Let us know in the comments what your favorite play from it was, or what you'd like to see moving forward from Cruise Film Reviews, if you'd like something different or anything like that. We're going to try and do these for as many games as possible, but all in all, the Mountaineers start the 2022 season 0-1, unfortunately. But as I said there at the end of the video in the film review portion there, I think the Mountaineers really showed me a great team. And, I was disheartened, but I woke up the next day encouraged when I went back, especially going back and watching the film and looking at some things and the way the Mountaineers performed. I thought it was a great performance, a gutsy performance. I thought they fought hard. And I really like this team that West Virginia's built for the 130th season of West Virginia football. And we'll see how it progresses moving forward, but I'm cautiously optimistic. And I think I've got high hopes for this team and hope they can compete for a conference title. But we'll see how it goes and how we break it down here at the Country Roads Webcast as the season progresses. We'll have plenty more content coming at you soon, including Season 5, Episode 131 of the CRW podcast, where we will recap and give our reaction to the loss in the backyard brawl in the season opener for the Mountaineers. So be on the lookout for that, as well as much more coming down the pipe as we continue through the 2022 Mountaineer football season. That being said, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.
If you really want to know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those